Welcome to Civitas LA, where we feature diverse and emerging leaders who make up this dynamic region and are creating community every day and building a better tomorrow. Each week, we hear and learn from and are inspired by a new generation of civic entrepreneurs who are forging a path forward in making Los Angeles a stronger, more resilient, and connected group of citizens. Now more than ever, we aim to foster community connections, promote civic discourse, and elevate grassroots engagement and participation across the greater Los Angeles region while elevating diverse and emerging voices in the civic conversation. Boys and Girls Clubs have been an extraordinary partner in communities across the country in supporting families and supporting our youth, especially in communities of color. Here in our region, the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood has been a community force since 1937, providing a safe haven for children to learn, lead, discover, and succeed. With us today, we are delighted to have Mel Culpepper, longtime CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood, to hear about their work and discuss how this work has been impacted in this ever-changing revitalization of Hollywood around them. Mel, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Dwayne. Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to see you. Let's jump right on in. Mel, first of all, tell us, how long have you served as CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood?
It's been a wonderful 13 years serving as the CEO of Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Well, that's certainly a long time with any organization, particularly in the nonprofit sector. Tell us about the community you serve and how that community has been evolving over time.
Well, our community is really made up of mainly kids of color. The majority of our kids are Latino. The second largest group would be African American, and then the third largest group is what we call the mixed race children. The community is, interestingly, not reflective of what people normally think Hollywood should look like, but there is a large group of families, unfortunately, these will be poor families that live in Hollywood, and the majority of those families are families of color.
You've been there 13 years now. And obviously the last decade or so has seen tremendous renaissance, shall we say, of Hollywood. First of all, how's that impacting your work, but also how's that impacting the communities that you serve?
I remember being so excited about the Hollywood revitalization and quote-unquote renaissance of Hollywood. I thought that it would bring enormous opportunity to the Boys and Girls Club in the form of community involvement, community investment, and growth. But what I've noticed over the past, I would say maybe 7 to 10 years exactly, is that the revitalization is really only impacting those who have already had access, who are already, quote unquote, doing well in Hollywood. What I'm finding is that kids of color, families of color, poor families are once again being pushed out. Housing affordability is impossible for the families that I serve. So I recall starting at Boys and Girls Club and working with an elementary school across the street where the school population was over 600, almost 700 students. Today, that same school population is 280.
Is this the Vine Street Elementary School that's right near the Boys and Girls Club?
Yes, it would be. That was our feeder school, our main feeder school. So just imagine for an organization whose work is around ensuring that kids have the skills to be successful in our communities, those kids and those families are being forced to move away because they can't afford to live here, which is, again, directly impacting our ability to do the work with those kids who need us most. They're no longer here.
What percentage of the youth that you serve are actually in the greater Hollywood area? Because I know you've had to, expand in order to sort of maintain numbers. How many students are you currently serving, and from what distances are they coming to the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood?
So we are serving about 1,200 kids annually at the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood. I would say that about 40 to 50% of those are coming from our local Hollywood area. And then because of the need to serve more, we have had to expand. And we have kids coming as far south as parts of LA, Crenshaw. We have kids that are coming as far as downtown Echo Park area. Our zip codes of kids served is over 75 different zip codes. So we have kids coming from all over. Because one of the things, Dwayne, that I think was important for me to say is that we still remain the most affordable program, particularly in the summer months. When schools are closed and our doors are open from 7:30 in the morning to 6 p.m., and we're asking parents to pay $30 a week, there's nowhere that you can have that number of hours and quality service, including meals, for $30 a week. So families who need us come from all over, and we don't close the doors to any family who needs us.
And and while half of these young people are coming from the greater Hollywood area, I believe you're also serving the families of a lot of folks who work in Hollywood and have to themselves commute and want to keep their kids close by after school as well.
Absolutely. One of our most wonderful parents, lovely, supportive parents, works right at the CVS. That's around the corner from Boys and Girls Club. They don't live in the neighborhood, but that's where mom works. Therefore, the child goes to Vine Street. We pick them up, and we serve her child until she's off work at 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
Because of the large geographic reach of your programs, are you competing with other similar youth organizations or other boys and girls clubs in other parts of the region?
For funding and donations, absolutely. I mean, one of the challenges, not only for my nonprofit, but for all nonprofits in LA County, there are so many of us doing really great work. And when it comes to donors, there are no boundaries. So we are all competing. Many of us might be doing similar work, too, as you think about other boys and girls clubs and other youth-serving organizations. So really the key for real success around the fact that there are endless boundaries, geographical boundaries, is really important for us to collaborate. It's really important for us to be at the table together talking about what services I provide versus maybe Hollywood PAL or another youth organization, and how we can come together. I might have, for instance, a gym with a basketball court, whereas another youth organization may not. And it would be wise for us to collaborate, because at the end of the day, it's about serving kids and serving more kids.
Well, let's talk about some of the interesting initiatives that you all have had underway these last few years. I know you've got an exciting music program. I know you've got an exciting arts program. Talk about some of those initiatives.
Yeah, one of the programs that I'm most excited about, and we just got it off the ground right before we were forced to close because of the pandemic, and that's our READS program. We've known for quite a while that many students are struggling with basic reading and math. With kids being sort of inundated with homework after school, we haven't really been able to focus on those kids who are truly, truly suffering with basic reading and math skills. So we decided that we would open specifically on Saturdays for these targeted children. We got a funder, so we were very fortunate to be able to get this funder to understand how critical this program was. And she came forward and provided us with the seed money to start the Saturday program. It's very targeted, it's very focused. It's those kids who we all hear about that somehow end up in high school and can't read, and we ask the question, how did that happen? No one stopped and said, hold up, you're in 5th grade and you can't pronounce the letters of the alphabet. You can't spell out the date, can't spell out the month. Something is wrong here. Instead of passing them over, sweeping it under the carpet, acting as if that particular child doesn't matter, we said, no, we're going to figure out, because that one child is important enough for us. So we stopped, we developed a program, a reading program specifically. We identified the kids in our club were highest risk. We got together with their parents and we asked them to make commitment to bring those kids to us every Saturday from 9 to 1. And we were going to teach those kids how to read, how to write, how to pronounce words, and how to do basic math. And I was very, very excited about this program and so heartbroken when we had to stop the program because of COVID-19. We have reopened, and we are making an effort to bring all our fantastic programs back online. As you mentioned, our music program with UCLA, where kids get individualized piano, guitar, flute lessons. Our STEM programs that allow kids to have access to our science program, which is called Hip Through Science, making science fun and cool. We have robotics for girls. We have a girls' film program, again, focusing on girls having a voice, being empowered to express their concerns and their needs. All those programs are under the umbrella of Boys and Girls Club at our facility on Cahuenga and Willoughby. And we are forced to recognize and realize the impact of COVID. This summer, where we normally have 250 kids on the roster, we only have capacity for 50 kids right now. We have to maintain 6 feet of social distancing. We have to do the frequent hand washing. We have to do all the cleaning. So we have a protocol through the County Department of Public Health. These measures must be in place and must be held to the highest standard to prevent the spread of COVID. So although we can't serve 250, we are serving 50. And we're happy to be serving those 50.
And what is the impact on those families? How do you select those kids? Because I know, again, so many of these families are themselves, quote unquote, essential workers, and really rely on the Boys and Girls Club as a safe haven for their kids to go and play and learn and get out of the house. So how do you go about selecting?
Yeah. Well, our selection process started with the kids who did not have any internet access during the time that they were in the stay-at-home. I know there was a lot of talk about kids getting tablets and getting laptops, but there were a number of kids who never got them. And then there were kids who got them and had no internet access. So we had a number of kids who, for a total of 3 months, was never connected, never benefited from virtual learning, distance learning. And those were the kids on the top of our list. We started with those lists because we knew that they had suffered the most learning loss during the stay-at-home order. So they were first on the list. We also prioritized parents who were going back to work. You're absolutely right, Dwayne. Many of our families are your McDonald's workers, are your grocery store workers. They don't have the benefit or the luxury, however one might define that, of being able to work at home. Those parents have to go back to work. Parents who house clean, parents who do landscaping, lawn work, the types of jobs that oftentimes we don't talk about, right? Those are our parents. And so they have to get back to work. So we are open at 7:30, Monday through Friday, and we're staying open till 6 to try to do what we can for those 50 parents and those kids that need us. We hope to do more, but again, our first priority is safety and health for the kids and the staff.
Right.
So at this point, that's all we can do in our facility safely, and that's what we're doing.
What are some initiatives that could be undertaken to support, more digital access for these families? Hollywood obviously has gone through, great change and great renaissance, and of course Hollywood has a lot of the most digitally connected industries, such as entertainment and media. What can be done to help support more digital equity here?
I really think the time is to ensure that the most vulnerable kids and the most vulnerable families truly have access, which means we have to deliver the devices to the families free of cost. Here's another thing that we keep forgetting, is imagine being a second grader, English second language, and your parent and caregiver is a grandmother who speaks no English. So you bring in a tablet home to grandmother, you're in the second grade. Grandmother probably has never seen a tablet or doesn't know anything about a tablet. You're told that you're going to get Wi-Fi and a hotspot, and you're trying to explain that to your grandmother. She doesn't understand anything that you're talking about. We had one mom come to us and said, I don't know what they're talking about. Can somebody come help me? That's what we're talking about. It's time for us to be willing to do what it takes to make sure that all kids are connected. not some kids, not the kids who would probably naturally have the access because they have parents who speak the language, they have parents who already have access. I'm talking about those families that no one talks about and that no one reaches out to. So yeah, what can we do? Those who have technology should call me and say, come pick up 25 tablets. And along with those tablets, we will bring a technician to those homes, hook it up, make sure the child knows how to do it, show her what buttons to click, help grandma, and we will not leave that home until we know that that child is connected.
So you all have the staff resources, and obviously you have the connections to the families and the kids, and so you all just need to be that conduit for that work to be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. We can give you a list today of 25 kids who need access, who need computers, hardware access, and connectivity. And I say if you are a Hollywood corporation business that has that sitting in your storage, you know they work. And we can connect that to the hotspots, to the connectivity, whatever the provider is. At the end of the day, we want to be able to know that all of our kids have a fair chance and have an opportunity to take advantage of what is being offered to them at this point. As we know, school is going to be redefined. I don't know exactly if this is true or not, but I hear that more and more of what we will see in the future is virtual distance learning. Well, again, what happens to the kids who don't have it? And many of those kids are kids of color. So once again, a system is put in place that leaves kids of color who have already been struggling behind.
Well, speaking of systems, let's move to the next segment here, because that's right on point here. You know, we've got these young kids, and you said some of them are cared for by grandparents, et cetera, who may not speak the language. And certainly, you know, Hollywood was a center of protest activity over these past weeks, where there were calls for, you know, obviously police brutality issues, racial justice issues, equity issues, inclusion issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As these kids have returned to the club, what are you hearing from them about how they processed what was happening around them?
Yeah. So just to give some context, the kids that we're serving, these 50 kids, are on the younger side. I think the oldest kid we have in the club right now is 11. The youngest kid is 6. But you will be surprised that they, too, have been greatly impacted by what they've seen on TV. The sad part about it, Dwayne, is what we hear most is fear. They're not sure about what's happening here. The fear has been magnified by the protests. They were already fearful of the virus. And now there's another level of fear because they're not quite sure what the outcome is going to be. The other thing that I have to express here is that many of my kids have another level of fear that we don't talk about often, but that's around immigration.
Right.
So it's piling for them. It's piling on top of, everything's piling on top of them. And they also have parents who are out of work. They have parents who can't pay the bills. So anxiety and fear is what we see and hear most. You hear statements like, when is it going to be over? Some of them don't understand the complexities of all the issues that we're dealing with. It's like what we say with most things, meet people where they are, meet kids where they are. So what we're trying to do is instill in them a sense of hope, a sense of this will get better. And one of the things that we do talk about is you are the future. You are the future. So it is important for you to get your education so you can change the future. You can define the future. We do talk about voting. We can talk about voting with kids who are 7 and 8 and understand how when you vote, you get a voice. Things like that. Again, because we currently are not serving teens per se, The conversations are age appropriate, but what saddens me is the emotional and mental impact all of this is having on the kids at such a young age.
I can imagine, and certainly kudos to your staff who is on the front lines of working with these kids every day. Certainly, as we think about the issues of equity and inclusion, so many companies have come out with positive statements reaffirming their commitment to justice and equity and inclusion, and supporting calls for diversifying workforces and elevating women and people of color, et cetera. How can the Boys and Girls Club use this to use this as a platform to affect change, particularly in terms of its own engagement with Hollywood area businesses? We've got NBC Universal not far, Netflix is down the street, and other big companies in Hollywood. How can you use this time as an opportunity?
Well, my message to Hollywood industry, small, medium, large, we all understand this. We all understand that when you make an investment in something, and that investment, and I have to be real, equals dollars. I asked and suggest to our local corporations, businesses, large and small, to invest in our children, is to truly put, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it, put your money where your mouth is. So it is true. Many corporations are beautiful statements about equality, about inclusion, diversity. They're lovely statements, but really it's about investment. And for me, the best investment you can make is in the children, because if they are educated and if they are given the opportunities to have the building blocks to success, it will change the future. It will change generations. They are the future. We have got to ensure that kids of color, kids from low-income, poverty communities are able to rise up from it and rise up out of it. And the way that you do it is you invest in them. You make sure that organizations like Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood is here, able to do the work, able to help more. We are able to do this work because of the resources that we have to pay the dedicated and committed staff. That's really the way that it works. The work we do is not magic. It's because there are people employed by Boys and Girls Club who believe in this work, who are committed to this work. They could be working other places. They have the skills to be working, but they too have made a professional and personal investment in our children. And that's why they come to work every day with their PPE on, with their mask, getting their temperature checked, because they know how important it is to make sure those kids who are at our club on Monday have access to technology, have access to education, have access to arts, music, fitness. That's why they put that PPE on and come to work, because it's important enough to them and they've made the investment. So I would ask the Hollywood community, the Hollywood industry, to invest in our kids. Invest in organizations like the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood. We are really doing the work that will shape our future.
So let's talk about collaboration, because that's so important. And how do you encourage collaboration? What does community collaboration look like for you? Clearly, we talked about the need for cash, and all nonprofits need cash. But other than dollars, what else makes sense for you to grow the next 100 years of your organization?
We won't be able to do this alone. Like with most things, it's going to take all of us to have the impact that we want to see and to shape the future. So it is important that we have the dollars, but it's also important for people to come to the table to help us in achieving different initiatives or other important initiatives that impact the work that we're doing in Hollywood. So we all know that we have a huge homeless issue. And we are all working together. We're all doing our part. So most recently, we partnered with CVS because we had a pretty substantial encampment very close to our club and very close to our school, Vine Street Elementary School. So we pulled together, myself, the principal of Vine Street, local businesses around that area, and CVS, and we all came to the table and said, what can we do? Because at the end of the day, we recognize that our kids, all of our kids, they're just not Boys and Girls Club kids, they're all community kids, need to have a safe passageway from home to school. We needed that. They needed that. So what could we do? So again, working along with the police department, the homeless unit here in Hollywood, we decided to focus on a beautification project. And we worked with all our city officials, Council Member Mitchell Farrell's office, and we received the permission to be able to do a mural project on the north side of the CVS. And the beauty of that is we also allowed kids to be a part of that project.
Okay.
And so it has really, in my mind, been received and accepted even with our homeless community, because that corner is now our mural space. And since we started over 2 months ago, 3 months, they have not returned. The encampment has not returned, and I believe that we have been able to create sort of a sacred space on that corner of Willapie and Vine, which means that kids who are coming from Boys and Girls Club and coming from Vine Street can now walk that corner with safety and also be reminded of community, because the mural brings together Boys and Girls Club. Our logo's there, the Vine Street Elementary School logo there, CVS is there. It's really about communities coming together and being part of a solution. And that's just one example of how we can work together.
And I know you had an interesting new collaboration that was starting to take off with Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center.
Absolutely. That also was a really wonderful opportunity for us to get together with a large medical organization, an entity with a focus on health and wellness. So yes, that provided us an opportunity to bring our families together at our Boys and Girls Club, learning about all the important aspects of good and healthy lifestyles. And what I think was really particularly special about the Hollywood Presbyterian collaboration is it was very much local. It was local families, local community members coming together and spreading the word about resources. What most families don't understand and may not have information around is what's available for them. When you don't have access to money or insurance, what other ways can you ensure that you and your family stay healthy? And the partnership with Hollywood Presbyterian really magnifies the importance of making sure that our families have all the available resources to ensure the healthy family.
So how can others get involved in this exciting work?
Well, I think it's important to go to our website, which is www.bgchollywood.com, and really explore all the initiatives that we have available. I believe that if you check out the website, you'll find something pretty remarkable in terms of what we're doing. You might feel a passion towards our Girls Empowerment program. You might find that your technology skills might be helpful in our robotics program. I think what's important today specifically is that we stop talking and we start doing. Act now, do something. Think about what it is that will motivate you and inspire you to impact the lives of our young people, of our children, and do something.
Well, that's great. And, certainly, the genesis of this program and what we're trying to achieve is to really highlight those folks at a community level who are showing up, doing the work, and getting things done. And hopefully this can, be aired and heard by others who get inspired by you and support your work. So this has been a great conversation, and we're really excited to follow your progress and have you come back on the show. But before you leave, this is a podcast about Los Angeles, and we're always going to ask our guests to get to know a little bit more about you and get to know about your Los Angeles. So we have a few lightning round questions just to sort of, wind things down on a lighter note to get to know you and your Los Angeles. So we're going to ask the first question, and these are randomly drawn.
Okay.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Los Angeles, born and raised.
Which part of Los Angeles?
Our family home is in the Crenshaw area, Crenshaw and Slauson.
Oh, gotcha. And where do you live currently, or do you want to share that?
No, because I don't want you guys to come find me. No, in the Hollywood area. Yeah.
Okay. We love talking about mobility since that's always the subject of every conversation in Los Angeles, it seems. So, Uber, Lyft, yellow cab, bike, bus, walk, metro, or scooter?
Lyft.
Lyft, okay. Favorite restaurant or two?
Oh, my favorite restaurant is Casita de Campos in Silver Lake.
Oh, gotcha, okay. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite place to take a visitor to coming to Los Angeles?
Oh, Griffith Park.
Okay. Rams or Chargers?
Patrick Mahone.
Okay. Lakers, Clippers?
Oh, God. Clippers.
Dodgers, Angels?
I'm sorry, but I don't like baseball.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, this has been great, Mel. We really appreciate you being on, and we appreciate your long service to the Boys and Girls Club, and certainly appreciate your service to Hollywood. Hopefully we can have you on again and discuss the progress you're making, and we certainly hope that others hearing this program will be inspired to support that work. Mel, thank you for joining us, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in today. We hope you'll join us again next week. In the meantime, stay strong and get involved. To learn more about Civitas LA and share feedback on this program or recommend future programs, please visit our website at www.civitasla.com. And we hope you'll connect with us on social media so we can continue the conversation on Facebook or Twitter.